Did you get the thing?
Yes, I got the thing.
Feed the dog?
Yes, I fed the dog.
Did you download the episode?
Yes, I downloaded the episode. What's up with the questions? Can we just go, please?
Permit me here and now to promise as a good comrade and a fellow artist that I will not report any of this, whatever it is, to the police.
Welcome to Abandoned Albums, the documentary podcast. Each week, our intrepid group of researchers and archivists sift through the album crates of the world, finding those records that may have been lost over time. Our team also seeks out up-and-coming artists with work we feel you should know about. When we're lucky enough, the artists swing by Thunderlove Studio to chat with our hosts Keith R. Higgins and Geoff Calhoun about those albums and their careers as a whole. Sit back, relax, and thank you for joining us.
My makeup on, closer from the night before. I saw the sun come up again. Chicago, maybe Baltimore. Only chick upon the ship, but brothers make it less homesick. Showtime comes, so here we go. Take a shot, head to the door. Here comes your moment. Shimmy fizzy, jump up and down. Shimmy fizzy, hop all around. Pop me off like a bottle cap. Twist me to the left. Those faces look at me, shining in the sea of black, radiating energy. I'll turn it up and throw it back. You all get my everything.
On this episode of Abandoned Albums, we're sitting down with one of the most vibrant and unstoppable bands working today, the Dollyrots. Kelly and Luis stopped by Thunderlove Studio to chat with Keith and Geoff about their career and their new album, Night Owl. They talk about their infectious melodies and punk rock spirit and unravel their musical evolution, or attempt to anyway. It was such a pleasure to talk with Kelly and Luis and bask in the sheer delight of this dynamic duo. Here's Geoff and Keith's conversation with the Dollyrots.
It's just the normal noises in here.
Well, listen, thank you so much for joining. I'm very excited to have you. I'm hoping Geoff will join, but as of now, no word. So let's go back to the beginning. I have two questions. You guys met in the 8th grade, is that correct?
Yeah.
And you met in a town called Land O'Lakes?
Land O'Lakes, Florida. Yep. It's about 45 minutes north of Tampa. At that time, it was just a very small, 2 stoplights, 1 McDonald's, 1 grocery store, and a Walmart kind of town. It was so small that when Lewis's parents moved there when he was 13, he was angry. He was not stoked to be moving there. But then on the first day of school, he saw me and he said he decided then that he was going to marry me. And we didn't get together until I was 17. He was 16. But eventually he did get his way. After some things that may be considered creepy and stalkerish these days. But back then it was romantic.
Tell us more about that.
Like taking my sister home from school all the time so he could end up in the house. He would write me notes in blood, left a lot of dead flowers on the doorstep. Just that kind of obsessive stuff.
The dead flowers are cool, but the blood's a little weird.
A little weird, but we were kids,
Yeah, of course.
That time in life. And, it was the early 90s. So, being dark and weird was pretty normal.
Absolutely. Did you guys bond over music?
So he was kind of this really smart, really dark kid. He hung out with the goth group of kids in our school. And I was, we were both really good students. So we were in a lot of classes together. And I did everything in high school. I played sports. I did student council. I was friends with everybody, but, didn't have a best friend. Just that kind of all around kid, I guess I would be considered. And I liked this boy in a band, and Luis was always trying to get at my house anyway. And I had bought an acoustic guitar and I was taking some lessons, and he offered to teach me to play guitar. And I was like, all right, come on over, teach me to play guitar. So that kind of started it. The first song he taught me was About a Girl by Nirvana.
Naturally.
But yeah, then, he taught me to play guitar. We started hanging out more. And then I asked him to go to the homecoming dance. I mean, it's like a teen movie. Then I decided I was going to go to this little school called New College in Florida. It's a liberal arts school. And he turned down some Ivy League stuff to follow me there, which his parents were a little miffed about, but they did like me. So it wasn't the worst choice. We made the worst choice 4 years later when he graduated pre-med with a neurobio degree. I had a biology degree, and we decided we were not going to go to grad school and med school. We were going to just move to California, like establish residency, do this little band thing that we had going for about a year at that point, and then see what happened. And so, yeah, about, 1 year into living in LA, we found a scene. And then at every turn where we've been like, are we going to really keep doing this? Something cool happens and we continue. So that's kind of the short version of how we got here.
Very cool. I think it would be neat in my own head and my own John Hughes movie kind of way if he came over to teach you how to play guitar and he didn't know how to play guitar.
That would be perfect.
Yeah. That's the movie version.
I think that's a good change to our autobiography that we'll make someday.
I think what's cool, and I've said this to some other folks too, is that, your career, it sort of lands butter side up. When I mean, you drop your toast and it lands butter side up.
Yeah, I think part of it is that we're both really hard workers. And no matter what we choose to do, whether it's be musicians or go to college or become parents, whatever we do, we're going to do as good as we possibly can. Neither one of us, wants to fail at anything. Neither one of us could be described as lazy. I mean, everyone's always like, you're the hardest working band I've ever known. Even our friends that are in bands that I think work really hard, they're like, you guys are nuts. Like, you just keep going. And I think part of that is that we owe it to each other. Part of it is that now we owe it to our children. We have to be successful at what we do. And I think that drives it. But also we've had really, really good breaks. And I think part of that comes from being positive and not being afraid to put ourselves out there in ways that make us scared and uncomfortable. I mean, I do things every day that I'm not very comfortable with. Every time I get on stage, I'm sick. I am like sick for the hour before we play. Like, I hate it.
Even now?
Yeah, it's awful. Like, when people come backstage before a show and they want to hang out, I'm always like inside, I'm like dying. I'm miserable. And then like 30 seconds into the first song, everything is perfect, And so I feel like we constantly push ourselves to do things that might be a stretch, and then we find our way there, and we make it work. And sometimes that's musically, sometimes it's accepting a tour that scares us. It's been a lot of different things, but I think in the end, putting ourselves out there, and also the relationships that we've made. I mean, we still work with people we've worked with for 20 years, and I think having that foundation of support, both on like the business side of things and the fans. We have fans that have been there since the start. I think knowing that we have that safety net, and of course the safety net of our families are really supportive and helpful. I think, that's let us be the people that we are, which I don't know, seems to be working out still.
Yes, very much so. I want to go back to what you said just a moment ago about moving to LA. And you found your group or your, I forget what word you used. You found your tribe. But that's one thing I've learned perhaps late in life, that sense of community, and in particular with artists. And that's so imperative to growth, both artistically and personally, and arguably commercially.
Yeah. We moved out there, and for the first year and a half, we were playing shows. We were working day jobs every day, and we would go to shows every night and just try to meet people and try to find a place where our band kind of fit in. I mean, our band kind of like, I don't know, I feel like me. We could get along with everybody. We can play all kinds of genres of shows, but we have never exactly fit into a place. We've played Warped Tour a whole bunch, but we're not exactly like a Warped Tour pop punk band. Like, we're just not. And so I think we were searching, and we found this group of people up in Highland Park at Mr. T's Bowl. And it was actually one of Lewis's coworkers. He worked in a genetics lab at that point. And one of his coworkers was going to go see her friend's band play. And so she's like, why don't you guys come with us? And so we went, and we met Mike TV and the Mr. T's Bowl crew. And through that group, we also met a group that was called Kiss or Kill. They were playing at what used to be the Garage on Virgil. It was Virgil and Melrose. It's not there anymore. But we started playing in those two, scenes. And it's really where we learned how to be a band. It's where we made our friends, who are our LA friends still, the people that helped us feel at home, the people we had Thanksgiving with every year, the people who pushed us to be a better band, because we wanted to play the late slot. We didn't want to have to open. So it meant, we had to be as good as our friends and like the best band in the scene. And so there was a camaraderie. There was a gentle, I don't know. It wasn't really a competition, but we definitely pushed each other to be better. And I think that was invaluable. I don't know if we would still be this band if we hadn't found those communities. There's actually a documentary about Kiss or Kill. It's called In Heaven There Is No Beer.
I saw that.
We're the bad guys because we left and toured, and we had success first. And well, that's how scenes fall apart, right?
Everyone was tired with the music scene in LA and said, fuck this, we're going to start our own.
We were instantly blown away by the band.
No BS. Here we are. Here's our songs, 3 chords and a cloud of dust.
Every week it just got crazier and crazier.
A couple of fans came up and said, "We heard you've been excommunicated from Kiss or Kill," which is really funny because Kiss or Kill is not my religion.
It was like, wow, we really aren't welcome here.
It was like we were homeless, like, we'd been evicted. How are you going to maintain a sense of community when you have nowhere for that community to go?
Is there significance to the name, the Dollyrots?
So when we first started out, I was just playing rhythm guitar and singing some backing vocals. And, the music that was inspiring us right then, it was the Donnas' first album. We went and saw the Donnas play, and that was the moment when you're like, man, we could do this. Like, I think we could do this. The Donnas were awesome. Their songs were like Ramones songs, the Ronettes, it was music that we were familiar with, and we loved it. And we just wanted to be a band. So maybe we could tour with them or meet them, which we ended up, getting to know them a little bit. But went to a Donna's show. Then we went back to school, and one of Lewis's friends was like, "Hey, you want to be in a band?" And he was like, "Yeah." And then I was like, "Hey, could I be in the band too? Because I know how this story ends. I would rather just be in the band, and maybe we could stay together." At that point, we had been together 2 whole years probably. And I started to learn guitar.
I want to ask you a question. I was driving around listening to the Dollyrots, and for the first time, I could almost hear the light bulb go off in my head. I was able to make the connection between your sound and the girl groups from the early 60s, the Ronettes and so on.
Yeah.
And this is absolutely 100% true. Just as I had that moment of realization, your version of Da Do Run Run or Da Do Ron Ron, which led into I Want to Be Sedated, came up on Spotify. And I was like, fantastic. I'm not fucking insane.
No, you got it. You got like the influence. And I think that kind of gives the picture of the band, right? But at that point, my voice was like such a baby voice and so cute. And, you know, I was a girl and I was dressing in like poodle skirts and stuff. And the music was really raw. And, you know, then we got a metal drummer and then it was like really crazy. So we wanted a name that would kind of explain the juxtaposition between the music and my voice. And so we made piles. I mean, we were in school for science. We're like, we'll make this scientific and we'll just pull words out of two piles. And, you know, we came up with a bunch of words. And I'm glad Lewis isn't here because he remembers it differently. But he thinks that we pulled Dollyrots out. We absolutely didn't. Because I remember we pulled out a whole bunch of things like Bubble Gun, which is now a band. Like a whole bunch of words kind of like that, you know. And then it had to be the somethings, obviously. You know, and then we were driving around in the day or two afterwards and trying to still come up with a name. And I said Dollyrots. First, I was like, Lollyrots. You know, there is a thing about our music that people who listen to a whole album will probably realize. And it's that on the outside, there's this kind of candy coating and it sounds positive and happy. And it's kind of a joyful sounding music. But if you read the words and you start to understand like a lot of the subtext, you know, there's definitely some darkness in there. And I think that describes us as people too. We're on the tail end of Gen X and, you know, cynicism and Daria, you know, we're so self-deprecating. And so that definitely comes across if you want to hear that in our music. And so Dollyrots very much explains that as well.
These kids are having a fabulous time with Mr. Microphone.
Hey, good looking. We'll be back to pick you up later.
It's practical and great fun for the whole family.
I mean, I've loved to sing along. I never wanted to be a singer. It's kind of an accident. But I've always sung. I loved to sing in the car. When I was a kid, I would sing along to everything. I figured out how to make our record player work. So if I plugged in headphones like this, that one side was a microphone when I plugged in the headphones. So I was singing along to like the Four Seasons, Carly Simon, Cat Stevens, whatever my parents had. I think it was an 8-track actually. There was an 8-track and a record player. And, you know, I've always loved older music. I feel like, the girl group music it's just my favorite. I love melodic music that, I could sing along to for my whole life. I mean, I grew up listening to Casey Kasem's Top 40 too.
Of course.
It's like Madonna, Cyndi Lauper, the Bangles, the Go-Go's, plus, the Shangri-Las, the Ronettes, the Chiffons. I mean, even Aretha Franklin, Carly Simon, like that's where my vocal influence came from, I think. And the Four Seasons. Yeah. Kind of sang like girls too. So
I think that's one thing that kids are missing out on, the long distance dedication. So weird.
So weird. I love listening to that though. Oh my gosh. Every weekend. Good. With my cassette ready.
We're up to our long distance dedication. It's from a man in Cincinnati, Ohio. And here's what he writes. Dear Casey, this may seem to be a strange dedication request, but I'm quite sincere, and it'll mean a lot if you play it. Recently, there was a death in our family. He was a little dog named Snuggles, but he was most certainly a part of... Let's go start again. See, when you come out of those up-tempo goddamn numbers, man, it's impossible to make those transitions, and then you got to go into somebody dying. They do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for, but goddamn it, if we can't come out of a slow record, I don't understand it.
How long were you in L.A.?
I think we were there for 13 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we moved out there right after college, and then as soon as our son River was born, we got a house here in Tampa. Like 2 years before. We're planners. So 2 years ahead of that, got a house, rented it out. It was when everything bottomed out. So we got really, really lucky. But we knew we wanted to raise our kids around family. We were hoping we would have children. And, once he came along, we sold the tour van. We thought maybe it was the end of the band, but that was okay because we had done a lot of great stuff and we wanted to have a family at that point. And man, I think I was like 7 months pregnant and we got an offer to play some Black Flag shows in Southern California. It was just 4 shows, House of Blues, like nice little run of dates, right? In January. And I had very not the birth I was planning that ended in a C-section, November 25th. So we had already committed to doing those dates. And I was terrified. I was like, I don't think I can do this. I do not think this baby is so tiny. And I just didn't know how we were going to do it. And that just started our act of saying yes and then figuring it out. And so we had agreed to do the shows. We showed up. I'm breastfeeding right before I'm getting on stage, hand the baby over to our it was so funny. It's our merch girl's mom. Our merch girl now lives here and does our merch with us again. And I was like, okay, I can do this. And I was terrified. I was like, I'm a mom. I'm not me. I'm not that person that used to get on stage. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I felt so much doubt and I was terrified. And then I got out on that stage and 30 seconds in, I was like, oh, it's me. It's fine. This is what I do. I can totally do this and it's going to be okay. And so now we just kept saying yes. We said yes to everything. And, and then we moved out here, I guess, 4 months after that.
Wasn't it Shonda Rhimes who had that philosophy of saying yes to everything for a year?
Oh, I don't know, but that's what we do.
That's great. That's great. Do you guys come from musical backgrounds?
No. Luis's family, he was born in Ecuador. And so his family, they're really proper, kind of a European classical upbringing. I mean, he learned to play piano when he was little. He needed to be the best in school. He was salutatorian, and it was kind of a disappointment, that he wasn't valedictorian. And, he was going to be a doctor, finished pre-med, MCATs, whole thing. And so his dad plays piano, but that's the extent of that. I would say that I don't come from a musical family, but I think that is kind of a fib at this point because my mom's dad, he played the spoons. But he taught himself to play piano. So he had a keyboard. He played just by ear and he was really good. And on my mom's side, it's kind of fascinating because My mom's one of 10 kids. My dad is one of 6, proper Irish Catholic upbringing in Jersey. And none of my dad's brothers or sister are musical, but all of my cousins are. Like all of them on that side of the family. And it's fascinating because not long ago, we learned that my dad's grandfather had a family in New Jersey and then abandoned them, joined a vaudeville troupe, and moved to LA, where he changed his name to Cliff Clark and became an actor. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, this vaudeville stuff's just in our blood, guys. That's why we are who we are, I think. And I guess maybe it just skipped a generation or something. But yeah, it's kind of fascinating to learn that, we have a whole bunch of family out in California that we haven't met yet. I think we need one more generation before all of that kind of heals and feels fine. I mean, none of us really care, but, I learned I have a kind of uncle cousin of my dad's generation. He lives right down the street from our apartment in LA. And he also is a bass player. I'm like, wow, holy smokes. I didn't know any of these things. And now kind of a lot of it makes sense.
Yeah. I'd heard that things skip a generation. So if you want to find out shit about yourself, don't look to your parents, look to your grandparents.
Right.
Speaking of acting, you guys, or you did some acting.
Uh-huh.
Was it just CSI or did you do something beyond that?
It was just CSI. They needed, I guess there was a call, a cattle call for a bass player for just a network show. And the guy at our publishing company, he saw it and he was like, Kelly, you got to go. You got to go for this. And I was like, I can't act. And he's like, just go, please, just go for me. So I was like, all right. I put on my show clothes, which are just ripped jeans and a t-shirt and Chuck Taylors. I grabbed my bass, pull up in the van. I chugged a tiny wine and I go and I get in line and it's all these super hot actress girls, wearing thigh high boots and mini skirts. And they look like what a bass player would look like on TV. Right. And so I finally get in there and, I was so nervous. I was trembling. And they're like, oh, so you're actually a bass player. I was like, yeah, tell me about yourself, whatever. And then they're like, you want to play us something? I was the only one that brought a bass too. I thought I should, I don't know. And so I played them our song Out of LA, which is just a bass line song. I played the same bass line the whole way. I sang it for them. And then they're like, okay, so tell us about your band. And, I told them and they're like, okay, well, we'll let you know. Thank you. And then I left and I was like, I just totally failed. They could tell how nervous I was, and I swear not 10 minutes later, I'm driving on the freeway and I get a phone call and they're like, we want you to do it. They're like, then I had left them a CD. I was like, this is my band's record. It was our first album. And so they call and they're like, all right, but here's the thing. We've got an actress from Gilmore Girls. She's going to be the murderer. She's the drummer in the band. And so, we really just need you. We're going to get a couple actors. And I was like, well, you don't need to get actors because my drummer can play guitar or bass. And my guitarist is happy to do this. And, you should really listen to that record and use our songs. And they were like, okay, we'll call you back, but will you do it if you're playing covers? And I was like, I don't know. I guess so. And so then they called back again in 5 minutes. They're like, all right, we're going to use 2 of your songs. And your band can be in it. And
fantastic.
That I guess it was just me asking. I mean, if I hadn't asked, it wouldn't have happened. And if I hadn't have scared the crap out of myself and auditioned, that would have never happened.
I think that's a big lesson to be learned, is to just ask. Really, the worst anyone can say is no.
Yeah. I mean, our first record came out on Lookout Records. Then Lookout went kaput. Second album came out on Blackheart Records. I should have said Kerplunk. But then, the way we got on Blackheart Records, we were on Warped Tour with, it was the summer Joan Jett was headlining. And I watched her play every day. And second to last day, I handed her What Would Become Because I'm Awesome. It was pretty much done. And, she came off the stage down the steps. And I was standing there holding it. I was terrified. I felt like I was going to like throw up in my mouth, and my feet started walking before my body and brain were ready. And all of a sudden I was like smack dab right in front of her face. And I was like, "Hey, I'm Kelly and the Dollyrots. This is our new album. We don't have a label. Would you listen to it?" She's like, "Oh my God, I love your band. I've been watching you every day. I try and watch your set. I'd love to listen to this." Then like 2 months later, we get a call. "Hey, it's Blackheart. We want to put out your record." So if I hadn't freaked myself out, if I hadn't given her the demo, that would have never happened. I think I love scaring myself. Maybe I'm a masochist or something.
Well, it goes back to what we were saying in the beginning, right? Every day you do something that you're scared of, right? It's wired in you.
I do a radio show. I'm terrified every time I do that.
A driving hot day, the whiskey warms my body. Out through the desert, where passing means we're on our way. We're on our way out of LA. The snowy Converse melt on me while I'm walking. So sick and broken, not gonna make it past halfway. We're on our way out of LA.
So I want to ask you a question. Try to phrase this as delicately as possible, but what is it with drummers?
I thought that might be it.
Like every band has some sort of Spinal Tap story where they just rotate drummers.
Well, one part of it for all drummers and all bands is that typically the drummers, not always, are not the songwriters. And so I think to be a drummer, it would kind of suck a lot of the time because you're just doing what you're told. You're just there, you're keeping time, you're playing whatever the guitar player told you to play. He didn't like that fill, so you got to play a different one. I think the drummer doesn't get to be involved in the artistic part of it a lot of the time. So it's a little, we should welcome Geoff, shouldn't we?
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Geoff Calhoun.
I may need to get my headphones.
Do it.
All right, you do that. We're learning about drummers. So drummers aren't part of the equation?
I mean, we've written songs at practice, or we all play something together and it becomes the song. And I think more and more these days, a lot of bands, they write while they demo, sitting at a desk like this, you record a part, and then you record a part over it, and you record a part over it. I mean, we've been recording drums last on our albums for probably the last 5 or 6 records.
Really? Huh. Forgive me. I would have thought that drums would be the first thing, and then everything is built up from there.
Not anymore, because everything is digital. And so after our first album, Because I'm Awesome, we've always recorded to a click track.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of the time there'll be like demo drums or just like a drum beat or just, backbone drums, one good take that everybody plays to. But then we've found over time when Luis and I write songs now, he engineers and records most of our main tracks. We have a studio out back. And when we write songs now, we're demoing, but the demo tracks end up being the final tracks. And at this point in our lives, it's the two of us write whenever we get a few minutes. We have tiny kids. I have, I'm on the radio every day. That show takes up a lot of time. And so when we get a moment to be creative, we don't really make demos anymore. We just make our songs. And because of the way we do that, we don't really need to have a drummer that's active until we're on tour. And so for us as a band, we tried for a really long time. Chris Black was our drummer. Well, I guess Amy Wood was for a few years. Chris Black, I think maybe 5 years. But as we've gotten older, so have the people that we work with. Our drummer, they usually get married or get in a relationship, have a baby, they grow up, and, they kind of have to get real jobs and stuff. So leaving for weeks at a time isn't really feasible for one person, which means we have like 4 or 5 drummers now, and we can ask them all to do different things. And then every time it's fun because our kids are like, oh, yes, we get to see Uncle Justin, or, oh, awesome, Tia X is going to come play on this tour. And it also helps to keep things, a little bit more fun and exciting. It doesn't get monotonous.
For sure.
Because it's changing.
All right.
Hey, Geoff,
Geoff.
can you hear me?
I can hear y'all.
Woo!
I'm so excited to meet you.
Hi, Geoff.
Well, Keith, have you addressed any specific songs yet?
Oh, Keith, you're muted.
Suddenly I'm that asshole. Well, I didn't know I was on mute. Sorry about that.
At least you're not a cat.
I am not a cat.
Oh, that's my favorite thing from the pandemic.
So funny. No, the only thing we really talked about was the light bulb that went over my head when I made the connection between the Dollyrots and the girl groups from the early 60s. So I will leave the questioning in your good hands for the moment, sir.
I usually start at the beginning. I think I'm going to do it backwards this time and start at the end. Night Owl. It's perfect.
You know what's wild? So we get to talk about Luis because he went to go pick up the kids and he's not here, but I really had to fight to finish that song.
Really?
Wasn't sure about it. And I was like, it's so good. Like, I love this song. There's no way it's not getting recorded. Because like over the past 4 years, we had lots of bits and pieces of songs, pandemic crap, couldn't finish anything. Like, we just had lots of segments. And then finally we went to put things together. And that one was one of my absolute favorites. And he just wasn't sure about it. I was like, you're crazy. Like,
it's a knockout.
Yeah. So fortunately, Dennis at Wicked Cool Records was like, not only do I really like that song, but it should be the title track. And it's going to be the first single. And you got to make a video. So I had some backup on that. It's a good example of what the album is. We were creative at night. I mean, a lot of that was due to the pandemic. We're like homeschooling kids all day. I'm trying to do my radio show and feed them, 5 meals a day because kids eat so much. And we would just work at night, but it's kind of always been the way that we have been. And so there's a lot of nighttime themes on the album. Like usually Dollyrots albums are just sunshine all day long, but yeah, there's a lot of like not darker, like depressing, but it is a little bit of a darker album thematically.
But the hooks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's still bright and sunshiny.
Holy shit.
I love that you love it. I'm stoked.
I listened to it probably 5 times today.
Awesome.
I think it's the best you've ever sounded.
Yes. Awesome. I can't wait then. I'm even more excited now. Sweet.
So now I'll go to the past.
Okay.
I'd like to get into some stories, if there are any. It sounds like there are. About Bury Me in Ireland.
Oh, wow. Hold on. I gotta think back real fast.
I'll put you in the Wayback Machine.
Yeah. So, the kids are home. Go get them. Yeah. Guard dog. He's going to go attack them with kisses. So one of my favorite moments in my life was being on tour with Bowling for Soup and convincing my parents to go on their first trip out of the country to see us play in Dublin. And so did this tour. We ended in Dublin and I got to hang out with my parents. I hadn't seen them in forever because I was living in California. They live in Tampa. And I got to bring my dad out on stage. It was epic. And then Lewis and I spent a week driving around Ireland. And we hadn't had a vacation in a really, really long, like ever, pretty much. We went to like the Yucatan for 3 days once. But this was like our first grown-up vacation. And I fell in love with Ireland. And we would go to pubs every night. And we met amazing people and had the greatest time. And so, yeah, we also, I got to see, we went to the docks in Cove and I saw where my, relatives left the old country. And, it was just really, really cool. It was an awesome experience. And so Bury Me in Ireland. Just take me back. Hey, we got Lewis now. Hey, Geoff just got here too.
Oh, cool.
Don't worry, you're not too late.
Yeah, the gang's all here now.
Hey, look. Hey, we did it.
Yeah.
What's up?
Hey, man.
He asked about Bury Me in Ireland.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So.
Well, I did get into like.
Also, night owls, just
5 car accidents.
Do the.
What?
Yeah.
I think it's peak Dollyrots.
Oh, thank you.
I explained I had to convince you kind of to finish
right
it.
On.
But...
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Dude, hardly anyone's heard it. It's out, but we haven't talked to anybody about it.
Let me be the first to validate all the good vibes that you have about it. It's hitting on all the right notes.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, that's kind of a relief because you never know. You kind of pick one as the lead track, and then I was kind of outvoted. So
that says to me that you think there's another song as good as this one.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I do. But like my opinion is never like the majority opinion.
Yeah, like the Dollyrots set list live isn't necessarily our favorite songs.
Oh no, we just go to Google. It's like Dollyrots top songs,
and that's what we play.
Play what the people want. So I'd be a very bad A&R guy because I'd be picking like the obscure like B side as the single every time. But thank you, I appreciate that, really do.
My kids are, I think, a little older than yours. Mine are 12 and 15.
Okay, yeah, you're on to the next step.
Yeah,
I'm on to the next step, and I feel like I'm starting to see, and maybe it was just one specific example. But hopefully you guys are getting a royalty check from some of these cartoons that are using. So I'm awesome.
Yeah, Nimona happened.
Nimona happened.
Right. That's for sure where I'm thinking of.
We didn't know. Nobody told us.
No.
Really? Holy shit.
So way back in the day, we had a publishing deal during that time. And so that is definitely like, that will pay us eventually.
maybe we've recouped.
We may have recouped, because with the pub deal, they give you an advance, and then the magic of record deals and any sort of pub deals, whatever. It's like you never quite
a lot of creative accounting.
You never get into the black, do you?
Yeah. So I mean, not a penny, but great exposure.
But in the end, we did write that song.
Yeah.
And so it's about at the point where
I think we're about breaking even. I think
just
in all the ways,
just like every other musician out there, you're about breaking even.
This is the second time, Keith. Second time we've had cartoon thievery.
Well, there was Billions. We don't have Showtime. Is it Showtime?
Yeah, it's Showtime.
And there's this series called Billions, and our song is the opening of the final season. Like a minute and 30 seconds of this woman walking down the street opens the season, and we had no idea. I mean, somebody had mentioned it in 2019.
It's going against our account, Kelly. It'll be fine.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure it'll be fine. But it's kind of wild when these things pop up and we don't know they're coming.
Well, we usually get a message. Like we'll see like a tweet.
Well, on Twitter.
It'll be like, hey, do you guys know that you're on? I'm like, no.
Nope. Like, can you film it with your phone for us?
That's for part of our catalog. We do control other songs.
Yeah.
So like Barefoot and Pregnant, Whiplash, those songs.
Daydream Explosion.
Yeah, those masters we do. That goes through us. So yeah.
So if Night Owls, if anything happens with that, Wicked Cool is totally going to let us know, and it'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Wicked Cool Records, that is not an ironically named record label.
No, they are not.
I know it's so typical to say this, but they really are an artist-friendly label. I mean, they're run by, Steven believes in songs, great songs, self-expression, education, being a part of like rock history,
connecting the dots of rock and roll.
Yeah. So,
and then Dennis runs the label and the radio station, and he really gets us.
Yeah. They really appreciate what we do. And so, it's just nice to work with people that like you.
Yeah. Lucky us.
It's not like some faceless corporation that's just looking for a hit or whatever.
I've always associated the Dollyrots with a real strong female energy in rock and roll. The kind of band that I like to play for my daughter. I think probably because I saw the song used in Nimona. Can't help but watch Barbie and think the Dollyrots should be a part of this.
I know. I was watching it, wishing that we had done a song for it.
Well, when they had announced the movie, it would have been so perfect.
I know. We really should have turned in a version of Barbie Girl or something.
Oh, that would have been smart.
That would have been kick-ass.
Yeah.
We should have just submitted Pretty on the Inside.
Outside?
No, I think our song is Pretty on the Inside. Outside, inside. I don't know. One of those.
Isn't that a whole record? Pretty on the Inside?
Oh, yeah.
That's a whole record
Yeah.
We have a song that's about that. What is
idea.
it called?
About the whole record?
Oh, it's called Pretty on the Outside. Who's on first?
She doesn't believe me. Needs like some like objective source. Even if I'm right, it's like
they're here.
There's this thing called Google, Kelly.
Please, sir, I want some more.
What?
Please, sir, I want some more.
You tour with your kids.
Yeah.
That
they're home now.
Aren't there child labor laws?
Oh, you mean
We only put them to work for 10 minutes a day.
Yeah. It's
okay, good.
They have to earn their keep. They have to earn their macaronis and their yo-yos. And
Yeah. They're Barbies.
honestly, they'd get mad at us if they couldn't be a part of it.
Yeah, there have been a few tours in the past couple of years that they couldn't come on, and it was bad vibes for them, and kind of me too.
Well, they kind of guilt trip you.
Yeah, they're like, but we're supposed to be part of it.
You remember when you left us home for 5 days, Mom? You remember? Like,
you remember? Do you remember?
Were you trying to get him to like get ready for bed? But you remember when you?
So yeah,
that's pretty impressive. The whole family unit. I didn't even want to spend a weekend with my parents when I was a kid, let alone go on a prolonged tour.
We're not quite there
they're
yet.
6 and 9 years old.
They're still kind of our captive
So
audience.
we're in those golden years of them still wanting to hang out with us.
Yeah.
Hopefully it lasts.
I'm going to take advantage of it. I mean, at some point, yeah, their interest will divert for sure. And it's already starting to happen.
Yeah.
And of course, like, no matter who you are, your kids when they're 14, you're the uncoolest person ever. So I don't know. I just hope that they'll like us in the future, like once they go through all that craziness.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we figure like we'll just take them with us as long as they want to. They can be involved as much as they want to, and then if they decide to do something else, that's okay. You know.
Yeah.
If we have to change the path a little bit, then
yeah,
change it for a little while. It
yeah,
doesn't matter.
That's all right.
Very cool.
But clearly not slowing down.
Oh no. Seem to be really ramping up right now.
Well, I feel like wouldn't that be boring? I don't know. I after the past couple of years have been like a little bit tougher because we were putting out a record every couple years, like every 2 years we would have new music coming out. I start to get really angsty when something new isn't happening.
He's like, what's the point? What's the point? Everybody's going to forget about us. And I'm like, no, they're not.
I don't say that.
Kind of.
Well, you get a feeling that like what you're doing
he's an artist.
Isn't like current and relevant and like present. You know what I mean? Like what you're doing isn't like reflecting like where you are.
Yeah.
So yeah, then you just get into this mode of like you feel like you have to create something or conjure something out of thin air. So we're kind of like we got over that crest, and so now we get to ride this record for the next couple years, hopefully, before that anxious feeling starts again, which it will, I'm sure.
Always does.
And it'll manifest in something, hopefully.
And then I'm like, it's okay. This happens every time. And he's like, don't say that. No.
Yeah. Well.
Don't diminish my feeling.
Well, but you also like you never know whether you're going to catch it again. Like that feeling of like creativity or that spark or whatever that thing is that gives you the songs. Like it's never a given that you're ever going to be able to catch it.
Well, we
again.
couldn't catch it for a little while there.
Yeah, being stuck, being grounded, that kind of sucked the motivation out of a lot of people.
Yeah,
and the inspiration and stuff. For some people, it was awesome. It's like you're at home, you can create, you can paint, you can create art, you can create music, you can do whatever.
We couldn't do any of that.
For us, it was just paralysis, kind of, Mm-hmm. And so being able to feel inspired again, like I'm just so grateful to have that feeling still exist in there.
Is it safe to say then that you feed off of that energy of the live performance and the audiences?
Yeah, that informs it for sure. I mean, to some degree, it gives you something to talk about, but for the most part, it gives you motivation and inspiration based on the fact that that people care, or that there's somebody that'll listen to what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
And so then you almost feel like an obligation.
Like, well, we
It's
owe
like-
it to them.
It's like if we don't create something new, you're just aren't you kind of letting everybody down? Like everybody that wants something new would be kind of bummed if there wasn't another record, right? So I think we'll do this as long as we can, and whatever. I'd love to be like one of those like barely being able to get on the stage and sit there with my acoustic guitar in the auditorium and everybody's sitting there like politely clapping. Like that'd be cool.
We'll be playing Ruth Eckerd Hall someday.
Ruth Eckerd Hall.
My friend Keith knows I'm fond of a cover song that comes close to exceeding the original. It's rare, but it happens.
I rode my bicycle past your window last night. I roller skated to your door at daylight. It almost seems like you're avoiding me. I'm okay alone, but you've got something I need. Well, I got a brand new pair of roller skates. You got a brand new key. I think we should get together and try them out to see. I've been looking around you all. You got something from me. Well, I got a brand new pair of roller skates. You got a brand new key.
I think it's better than the original. Blasphemy to some.
Melanie approves.
Yeah, so Melanie wrote us a note that said she
Yeah.
likes our version, and it's super cool.
Well, but she had been in touch back when we first released it. And
Yeah.
I think for her it was cool because it introduced the whole generation to her song.
Yeah, she's always liked it. And
Yeah.
I genuinely love her.
Reproducing
Animal
that song
crackers
was
in
a
my
little
soup.
weird though.
Why?
So
Because
we
it doesn't
thought-
really ironically it's not really in a key. It's kind of in a key.
It's
and it's also like it's not really in a meter either. It's
so
like,
to try and figure out
it
what
doesn't-
key to do it
it's
in,
kinda like,
what tempo to do it in. Well, and I had just been singing along to it for so long that the second I had like a regimented click track in a key and I tried to sing it, I was like, oh my God, this is not going to work. Like, nope, not cool.
I mean, yeah.
So the intro is really
reining-
loose.
Reining it in.
Yeah.
Being like, oh wait, this has like a chord structure, and then simplifying it and making it punk rock.
Yeah.
And kind of making it direct and urgent and not whimsical and cute, you know.
Our producer,
Uh,
John Fields, he nailed that one with us.
Yeah. And our drummer at the time, Amy.
Oh, yeah.
too,
Amy
but
killed it.
yeah. So, but that was out of left field for sure. And it's funny how many people think that that's an original, like our original song.
Yeah, a lot of
too.
people don't know.
Because the song is just obscure. It's just obscure enough.
Well, it's
yeah.
really funny when we play in England too, because there is this band called the Wurtzels that had a huge hit called Combine Harvester. And so they took the song and they changed all the words. And it's about farming equipment. It's from like what's it called? The Northlands?
No, it's Birmingham. So it's like the Midlands.
Midlands.
It's the Midlands. It's all about farming.
So when we
it's
play
like
that
these-
song there, sometimes they're angry because they think we stole the song and changed the lyrics.
Like we stole the words. of
So
lyrics.
wild. And
And
so, and they do this weird
So it's
thing where I
like
go,
this, like,
I got a brand
Inception.
new pair of rollers. Oh
You
no,
have a-
it's
I
like
got a brand new
ooh-ah.
combine harvester, and they're like, ooh-ah,
Yeah,
ooh-ah.
they do this thing that sounds like they're just yelling at me, where they do this like ooh-ah, that's in the Wurtzels version. It's just the weirdest thing ever.
Why
It's
you-
on
why
that's
you
on
playing the
YouTube.
Wurzels?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
why'd you steal the Wurzel song? I'm like, what?
But it sounds like they're accusing you. They're just asking you a genuine question, but since they're
Yeah, they
British, they
sound
sound like
mean.
they're complaining.
We love the British people.
We love going over there, though.
I would be remiss if I spoke to you and I didn't bring up Twist Me to the Left, which I think was the first time I heard your band. And instantly, like, let's go. I'm going to love this.
Cool.
Sweet.
Thanks. Yeah, that one's interesting because that was our first record after we left Blackheart.
Yeah, that's what I was
So
thinking.
that was our first crowdsource. And we didn't know if we were going to be able to make that record because it was like, we don't have any money. And
Yeah.
then our fans funded it, and we did that record with John Fields. And I remember, you know, that shimmy fizzy
Cocoa Pop, shimmy shimmy rye.
So there's something weird in John's history where like didn't his uncle
worked on that or something?
His uncle like wrote that song.
His uncle wrote and performed Funky Town. That is like John Fields is a musician and producer, engineer because of his uncle.
Well, wait a minute. You mean that Lips Inc. song, Funky Town?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So when we record in Minneapolis, it's because that's where John cut his teeth because his uncle was Lip Sync, basically.
Yeah. He's played on Dollyrots songs. He has been a Dollyrots drummer.
Yeah, he did drum on a track. he drummed on Vibration. That was what
God, I love that song.
So anyway, there's this whole history, but in some iteration of somewhere, that song was in the consciousness. And so we just kind of drew on that for that track with like kind of a rancid bass line.
Yeah, the bass line, it was the hardest thing in the world for me to learn to sing and play that bass line. I could do both separately, but trying to get ready to play it live almost broke my brain. It was a lot.
You can do it now.
Yeah, it's fine now.
Just don't think
I can't
about
think
it.
about it, though.
Don't think about it.
I'll still mess it
It's
up
like-
once I start singing.
It's this muscle movement thing where it's like,
Yeah.
you know, when you become conscious of something and all of a sudden it's like impossible. Yeah. Like you can sit there, you can shoot free throws all day long, but the second you like become aware of your mechanics, it's like, forget it. Like that's the way it works with that song. Just don't think about it. Don't think. Let your tendons do all the work.
You had said that John is like your George Martin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah. How did you guys connect and how did that relationship develop and evolve?
It's another one of the just say yes moments.
Yeah.
So we got asked to go audition.
So we were
These are the two auditions we ever went on. I already
Yeah.
talked about CSI.
Oh, so we were in LA. We were working our day jobs, right? She was at, where were you at? Barnes and Noble?
Or Robex. I don't know.
Okay. She was either at the juice bar or Barnes and Noble, and I was at the lab. And we got a call, and it was like, hey, can you be at a blind audition in 2 hours? It's
In Santa Monica.
It's in Santa Monica. It's like, great. So we called our drummer. We're like, hey, can you be at this thing? We show up, and there's all these like LA rock people from like other bands there. Like there were other bands that we do from the
Yeah, we
scene
knew
at
them
this
even.
blind audition. We didn't know what it was. And so eventually they let us into this room. It was just like a regular old office building room.
It was like
with
an empty room where you would sit and have lunch with coworkers and not speak.
Yeah, so they had these tables, and then there were these people at the tables, you know, like kind of like American Idol style. There's
Yeah,
like three of
judges.
them, and they're judging you. And they had a little backline set up in the corner. So there's like drums and bass and guitar and microphones. And they're like, hey, play your crappiest song. We were like, okay. So we played Jackie Chan and Skinny. Feed Me, Pet Me, and Skinny. We played 3 songs. Or
Those
whatever.
are on our first album.
They're all like a minute and a half long, right? So, and we had recorded a demo at that point that sounded really bad.
Really
it was like
rough.
a terrible demo,
I mean-
whatever. And so we played for them, and they were basically like, "Okay, that's fine. You can
Yeah,
leave.
bye."
Great, see you later." And so we figured that's that.
We're
Cool.
like,
we
well,
tried.
just wasted that time, but at least we tried.
And then like 45 minutes later, we're on the way home, and we got a call from the publishing company that had asked us to go out and do it. And they were like, hey, you just got picked for the Hewlett-Packard new ad campaign for this new camera. It
was a printer.
rolling
It
out.
printed
Or-
out like tiny
like-
photos. It
So, like-
was in AMC theaters before Lord of the Rings.
It was like a big deal. And they were like,
Well, yeah.
we're going to give you a bunch of money and you get to be in this commercial. And they're going to use your song. And we were like, holy shit. Like we'd never done anything before that. We were just
This was the first thing that ever happened.
we were doing like pay to play it, like
The whiskey.
the whiskey.
Yeah.
You know, like we were green. And so the catch was they wanted us to re-record the song.
Even crappy.
And I was like, but we just recorded like a really shitty demo. You know, can I curse?
Yes, you can curse away.
Okay. And so they had us re-record it, right? At Capitol Records Studio B, you walk in and it's like, you know, Frank Sinatra's on the wall. It's like,
yeah, it was crazy.
It's a pretty fancy studio where they specifically hired it out for us to go record a worse sounding
super
version.
shitty version of our
of the
song, Feed Me, Pet Me.
Because they wanted a garage band sound. Like, we want a record deal. We're a garage band. That's the
like
world.
the campaign was called "We Want a Record Deal."
But they used our name. They used the Dollyrots. We want a record, whatever.
It's on YouTube.
So up to that point, we had been trying to record ourselves. We had an album's worth of music.
We were rehearsed.
We had tried. We had paid a bunch of money for this bad sounding demo, all this stuff. Walk in to do this session, right? They'd rented out the studio for the whole day. We walked in to do the session, and this guy walks up to us, and he's like, hey, how's it going? Hey, these guys are going to leave in a little while. Do you want to just cut an album?
He's like, please tell me you have an album.
I was like,
yeah,
we have like 15 songs if you're down, dude.
He's like, yeah.
And so the suits stuck around for it was like 4 hours. We got the 30-second cut that sounded bad. They all agreed it was cool. They left, and they're
like, have fun. We got the room till midnight.
It was like 8:00. They're like, you got this place till midnight. Do whatever you guys want. See you later. Cool. The minute that door shut, it was just like bam, 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 bam. We do like one round of the song live
with drums, bass, guitar.
Right.
And then we would do a second round.
Kelly would run into the control booth, sing while I played the second guitar. And then we did that for 12 songs. And that became our first album.
That's Eat My Heart Out.
Because the engineer on the session was a very young
guy who had just moved from Minneapolis named John Fields.
That was it, man.
Music.
That was it.
And that was our first album. And so when it was time to do the next batch of songs, obviously we worked with him. And so that was Because I'm Awesome and Brand New Key and whatever. And we've continued to, he's been the driving force behind pushing us to sound better and be tight.
And he knows how far he can push us. He knows how to get the best performances out of us. And we don't even have to talk to each other. We'll just kind of grunt or like motion, and it just works. Like, we don't have to discuss things and ponder.
And at this point, 90% of the time he'll roll with whatever we've come in with, lyrically or song structure wise. But when he does think something can be better, he's not afraid to say like, hey, this kind of sucks. You can do better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are at time. I want to give the last question to Geoff. He joined late.
Oh, man. No, just thank you. I really love your band a lot. I enjoy it with my daughter, with my 12-year-old daughter. We jump up and down and dance and are silly, and it brings us great joy. And so massive, massive thank you. I'll see you in Nashville.
Awesome.
Oh, sweet.
November. Yeah.
That'll be good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Right on.
Take care.
Thanks for
Have a good
having us.
night.
Say
You
hi
too.
to your daughter for us.
Yeah. Tell her we said hi.
Many thanks to the Dollyrots for stopping by to chat. They're out on tour this October and November, and they may be coming to a town near you. Be sure to check out the links in our notes section for all things digitally Dollyrotten. Extra special thanks to Dana Gordon for making it happen.
This episode of Abandoned Albums was written and produced by Keith R. Higgins and Geoff Calhoun. The show was recorded at Thunderlove Studio, where it was engineered by Daphne Morris with help from John Thomas. Abandoned Albums was edited by Mike Hunt.
The songs you heard during this podcast were Twist Me to the Left, Be My Baby, Out of L.A., Night Owl, Bury Me in Ireland, Because I'm Awesome, and lastly, Brand New Key. You can stream the Dollyrots wherever you stream your favorite music. Be sure to check out their Bandcamp page for all kinds of goodies. The link is in the notes section. Please remember to support your favorite independent artists. It matters.
Original music by Mike Pellegrino.
Our theme song is All I Want by Pete Belasco. In the opening of the show, the songs you heard were Livin' in a Dream by Archangels, Think Too Hard by Sid Straw, and Stronger Than Love by James Carr. You can stream all of those songs and artists wherever you stream your favorite music.
If you like what you've heard, please be sure to subscribe and leave us a rating. It really does help. Thanks for listening.
Grazie. Daily Leaf. Rob Janicki. Mike Pellegrino. Therina Vella. Ronnie Barnett. S.W. Loudon. Michael Janicki. Peyton Janicki. And our executive producer.
This is Thunderlove.
Abandoned Albums receives funding from the Vandelay Latex Group. Latex, the way it should be.
until we meet again next time, I remain as always obediently yours.
Abandoned Albums is a production of Paw Print Media.